Good morning, children. This is our second lecture for chapter 6. In the previous lecture, we had started with chapter 6 from part 1, and it is request again that you watch this video till end for proper and complete understanding. In the previous lecture, we had started with chapter 6 from part 1 of your textbook, that is retirement or death of a partner. In that lecture, we had an introduction about the chapter. We also discussed about its weightage, and also we have understood about the important concepts of theory which are useful in solving a long sum. Now, long sum, if we are talking about, it is of 8 marks, just like we had a long sum in the previous chapter, that is chapter 5, admission of a partner. When I started with chapter 5, I clearly said that the next chapter is going to be almost similar. By that I mean that the long sums of both the chapters are nearly same. So if you are aware of accounting treatments and preparation of ledger accounts of chapter 5, then chapter 6 is going to be extremely easy for you. The sum is nearly same except for some minor changes. So in today's lecture, we are going to understand how to solve a long sum and what are the steps for solving a long sum. This is our second lecture, and before you study this lecture, you should obviously revise the things mentioned in first lecture. That means you should carefully study first lecture and only then you should study second lecture. So here we have steps for solving a long sum. This explains in what manner you are supposed to solve a long sum. You obviously know what kind of a question long sum is. We have studied this in chapter 5. You are provided with an old balance sheet and adjustments regarding revaluation of assets and liabilities. So starting from the first step, please listen to me carefully. It is really important you understand the steps before we proceed with the practical examples. So the very first step is prepare a format of journal. If journal entries are asked in the question, let us talk about the question first. You will be provided with an old balance sheet of a partnership firm. Let us consider a practical example. There are 3 partners, say A, B, and C. And C is a person going to get retired. So accounting treatments for retirement are to be given, that is reconstruction of partnership. Now only A and B are going to continue. So you'll be provided with an old balance sheet and the necessary adjustments below. Below that, they instruct you what you are supposed to do, what you are supposed to prepare, which ledger accounts you are supposed to prepare. And also sometimes they are asking you to write journal entries, but not in every sum. So you should carefully read the entire question and you should check. If they've written, write down necessary journal entries and prepare necessary accounts, then the very first step is to prepare the format for journal entries. I hope I'm clear. The very first step is that you will prepare a format of journal only if they have asked you to do so, and that you get to know once you study the question carefully. You should read the question carefully, that whether they have asked you to write journal entries or not. Then the second step, it is prepare necessary accounts. Now, which are the necessary accounts? The obvious accounts are four. The one is revaluation account. Then we have partners capital accounts, cash and bank account, and balance sheet. Balance sheet is not an account, it is a statement. Yeah. Now, how do you decide that whether you are going to prepare partners capital accounts or partners current accounts? This is an important thing to be considered. So, in the given question, in your old balance sheet, I mean the balance sheet which is given in your question, you should check if they have provided you with the balances of current accounts. Then you are going to prepare partners' current accounts and not otherwise. Alright, so this was our second step. I will repeat this. You'll be provided with a question, you'll be provided with an old balance sheet and the adjustments below. The very first thing is you are going to check that what you are supposed to do. If they've asked you to write down the journal entries, you are obviously going to prepare a format for journal. Then you will check your balance sheet. If you are provided with the balances of current accounts, then you will be preparing current accounts also. Otherwise, you are going to prepare partners' capital accounts. And of course, revaluation account and cash and bank account. That you are going to prepare obviously, but only confusion is when to prepare current accounts. So in your old balance sheet, if you are provided with the balances of current accounts, in such a situation, you are supposed to prepare partners' current accounts. Alright? And I request you all, when you go through this lecture, please keep your textbook and a writing book and other essentials with you so that you can do the sum along when I instruct you to do so. Yes? So it will be good if you have your book right now, the textbook and a writing book. Always keep this with you. Third step. We have reached to third step. It is record opening balances of partners' capital or current account and cash and bank account. Obviously, you know what are the opening balances. You are provided with the opening balance of capital and current account in your balance sheet. It is given in the question, is what I mean to say, and also a balance of cash and bank account. So once you have prepared necessary accounts, मतलब आपने ड्रॉ कर दिया है, after that you are going to write the opening balances. You will be writing opening balances of partners capital and current account and cash and bank account. This is your third step. Your fourth step is you are supposed to find out the new profit loss sharing ratio and gaining ratio, just like we used to obtain sacrificing ratio while solving a long sum of chapter 5. Here you are supposed to find out gaining ratio and new profit and loss sharing ratio if required in any of the given adjustments. Yes? So what is the formula for gaining ratio? And what is the formula for new profit and loss sharing ratio? Obviously, we have understood this and I have mentioned this in the previous lecture. And it is expected that you remember all the things. And if not, you should revise carefully. Yeah, so the fifth step and the most important step is you are supposed to read all the given adjustments and you will put a tick mark over the assets and liabilities in old balance sheet. What does this mean now? That if you are provided with the adjustments related to any of the assets or liabilities, you should read them and you should put a tick mark besides that particular item, and you should write down a number of the same, that this particular adjustment is to be applied over this particular item. This helps in solving a confusion. At the end of the sum, you will get an idea about the items which are yet to be recorded, or I can say which are left to be recorded. They are the items which do not have any adjustments. Yeah. So while solving this adjustments, I'm talking about the fifth step. So these adjustments are about revaluation of assets and liabilities and also about goodwill. That what is the amount of goodwill to be paid to the retiring partner, in what manner, etc. etc. So the points that we have considered in the previous lecture are applied here. That is, the adjustments will cover the part of revaluation of assets and liabilities and the concept of goodwill. Alright, moving ahead, it is about distribution of reserves and accumulated profit loss. We have talked about this in the previous lecture, that you are going to distribute the reserves and accumulated profit loss among all the partners in their old profit loss sharing ratio. Then the seventh step is record the remaining. Now what is this about remaining? What is remaining? Now we have solved all the adjustments, and as I said that you have put a tick mark over the items having adjustments with them, and then you have also recorded accumulated reserves and profit loss from balance sheet. But now what about the items which are not accumulated reserves, accumulated profit or loss? Neither they are reserves and nor do they have any adjustments attached with them. What about those items? So those items are to be recorded now because they are left to be recorded. So that is what means record the remaining. Then coming towards the eighth step, which is of totaling. Now you know very well how to total ledger accounts. You'll start with revaluation account. You'll transfer the answer to the next account. Let it be profit, loss, etc. etc. Right? When you reach towards the totaling of partners' capital accounts, what do you generally do? The balance carried down is directly transferred in balance sheet. But here the minor change is that a particular partner is going to retire. So the capital of that partner cannot be transferred in the new balance sheet. Instead, the share of partner is to be paid to him, and it can be paid in two ways. That is, firstly, it is paid in cash, otherwise, the amount is kept as a loan in the firm. Yeah, this you will understand better when we'll be solving a practical sum. Finally, the last thing, that you are supposed to prepare a loan account if you are instructed to do so in the given question. not otherwise. Preparing loan account is not compulsory, but only if you are asked to prepare the same in the given question, only then you should prepare the same. Yeah? So these are the steps for solving a long sum. You should keep these points in mind, and only then you can solve a practical sum. And as I said, long sums are nearly similar to chapter 5, and chapter 5 we have already completed. So this particular thing, I mean the long sums that we are going to start, they are not much difficult for you to understand. Fine, then we have some important notes here that is obviously related to the long sum that you are solving. It says total of both the sides of balance sheet in the end. What is the end? Once you are done solving entire sum and the last step of totaling, जब आप अपना बैलेंस शीट का टोटल करते हैं, they say it should be identical. That means the answer on both the sides of balance sheet should be similar, should be same, should be equal. For your sum to be perfect, its balance sheet should always tally. That is, the total of both the sides of your balance sheet should be same. And if not, then you might have surely committed a mistake anywhere in the sum, in any particular account, any particular journal entry, or anywhere. At the end, each and everything is to be transferred to balance sheet to obtain its answer similar on both the sides. So the sum is to be solved with extreme care. Alright? So we are going to start with a long sum, that is illustration 13, chapter 6 of course. Today we are going to understand the question and practically we'll be doing in the next lecture. Today I'll explain the entire question, and in the next lecture we are going to solve the same. You might be surely having your textbook, and we're going to understand illustration 13 for today. So page number 227, it is illustration 13. Now here you are supposed to apply all the steps that I have explained in this lecture. All those points will be understood in consideration with this particular question. Alright, so this is illustration 13, page number 227 in your textbook. The balance sheet of X, Y, and Z is given below as on 31st/3/16. What is the accounting year? 1st April to 31st March. So this is an old balance sheet. What I was saying, what I was explaining while explaining the steps. This is how your question looks like. You are always provided with a balance sheet. Balance sheet is having two sides, of course, liabilities and asset side. Liabilities side, if you'll see, the balances, the opening balances of capital accounts are given. Then you have general reserve, you have loan and other liabilities, and you have a reserve there. Moving towards asset side, you have goodwill. Goodwill, this is old value of goodwill. If you remember the previous lecture, we have understood this while understanding the concept of goodwill. Then you have all the assets. Below you have advertisement, campaign expenditure, profit and loss account. This is a part of reserves and accumulated profit loss. See, all the points are applied one by one. Alright, so the steps. Let us focus to the steps. So this is the balance sheet. As I said that your question will contain a balance sheet and adjustments thereafter, and below that it will be clearly written that what you are supposed to prepare. So let us check. You have adjustments now. There are overall 6 adjustments, and they say from the above information, pass necessary journal entries and prepare revaluation account, partners capital account and balance sheet after retirement of Y. There are 3 partners X, Y and Z. And they say that Y retires. So after the retirement of Y, you are supposed to prepare these particular accounts. And they have clearly said that pass necessary journal entries. This clearly means that you are going to prepare the format for journal. If you see, this is the very first step. See, prepare a format of journal if journal entries are asked in the question. Yes, journal entries are asked in this particular question. Yeah, they have written below after 6th adjustment. Okay, let us see what is our second step. It is that I should draw necessary accounts. Yes, so which are the accounts I'm going to draw? Obviously, revaluation account, partners capital account. Why capital account? Because there is no mention regarding current accounts in the balance sheet. Yeah, then cash and bank account, and finally balance sheet. All right. Okay. Then the third step is that I should record all the opening balances. You can see here, record opening balances of partners capital, current account and cash and bank account. Let us see what are the opening balances. Yes, here in your balance sheet, liabilities side, you can see the opening balances of capital accounts of X, Y and Z. Alright. And on the debit side of the balance sheet, if you see, you have an opening balance, bank balance, which is of 30,000. Alright. Then, which is our next step? Obtain new profit loss ratio and gaining ratio. Okay, then let us find that. What is their old ratio? They have not mentioned about old ratio previously in balance sheet. Let us check here. Yes, they have mentioned their old ratio as 3:3:2. And if you check adjustment number 6, it is clearly written that their new ratio is 1:1. So what does that mean? You are provided with old ratio as well as new ratio. So there does not arise any question of obtaining new ratio again. You are already provided with new ratio. The only thing that you are supposed to obtain now is gaining ratio. What is the formula for gain? It is, let us check. Yes, we have it here. Gain, new share minus old share. What is the old ratio of partners? It is 3:3:2. New ratio 1:1. What is gain? New share minus old share. So let us find out the gain of partners. The gain of X. What is the new share? It is 1 by 2 minus old share. That is 3 by 8. Considering the LCM, it is 4 minus 3 by 8. And the answer is 1 by 8. This is a basic mathematical calculation. You can obviously understand this. And then the gain of Z similarly. The new ratio 1 by 2, I mean the new share 1 by 2 minus 2 by 8. And the answer is 2 by 8. They've taken LCM and this is basic math. Alright, so this way the gaining ratio of X and Z is 1 is to 2. Alright, so we have obtained gaining ratio. Fine. Which is our next step? Yes, we'll read all the adjustments, we'll distribute reserves, we'll record the remaining, totaling, and then preparing loan account. But in the given question, they haven't asked us to prepare a loan account. Still, we'll check, and if necessary, we'll prepare loan account. Alright? So, yeah. So this is your question. These are the adjustments. Below the adjustments, they've asked you what you are supposed to prepare. And now the thing is what you are supposed to do for today. You can even consider this as a part of homework, but obviously we have a separate homework. But this is what you are going to prepare for the next lecture. In next lecture, we are going to practically solve this sum, and for that, you should be ready with the format of journal in your book. You can see here, draw a format of journal. This is what you are supposed to do. Draw necessary accounts. The 4 accounts you are supposed to draw. I mean the 3 accounts and a balance sheet, which is approx half page each. आधे पेज में वो एडजस्ट हो जाएगा. Each and every account of half page. And you will record the opening balances. Opening balances of partners' capital accounts and cash and bank account. Obviously, after that, you are supposed to calculate this the way it is calculated here. That is, you are supposed to calculate gaining ratio. Alright? And this is your homework for today, that you are supposed to write down the journal entries for revaluation of assets and liabilities, which are given on page number 165 and 166 of your textbook. You have obviously written this once as a part of homework of previous lecture, but again for today you are supposed to write this so that you don't face any difficulty when it comes to solving a long sum. And it is also a request that you revise the previous video and also the second lecture, the one which is going on right now, before we meet in third lecture. It is important to understand concepts from the very beginning. So if you haven't studied first lecture, it is next to impossible for you to understand anything in the second lecture. And obviously then it is difficult to understand third lecture again. Alright? So as I said, you should be ready with this many things in your book. And in the next lecture, you are going to keep your book with you and will be solving a sum. I will instruct you people and you are going to write. That is, we are going to solve the sum along. But these many formats should be ready in your fair books. Alright? And this is your homework. Please do not forget to do this. So we'll end this session today here and we'll see you all in the next lecture. Till then, stay home and stay safe.